Stephen is a business coach. You're a coach of happiness, maybe a coach of sadness, a coach of health, everything like that. He's generally a positive guy, and he's got a lot of entrepreneurial experience. So welcome, Steve. Looking forward to hearing from you today. Shall we have a look?
Thank you, John. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephen Balmer, and I'm a founder of a company called AskStephen. And today, I guess I've got the position to be the hype man. Hands up those of you that have been to a concert before. You know, every time you go to a concert, someone comes on before then to hype you up and get you all ready, yeah? So that's my job today, to be the hype person. But on a serious note, I want you to stand up if you're still learning. Everyone in the room is stood up. I love that. Thank you. So I want to talk to you today about learning, really, because I really believe that this event, for me, is about learning. And everyone can benefit from it, whether that's mentors, whether that's the people you've seen on stage giving the pitches, whether that's the more technical people behind the scenes. Everyone can learn something. So for me, Think the City is about learning. And on my travels and my journey, I've learned quite a lot. And I've learned a lot about businesses. And I've learned a lot about starting businesses. And I've learned a lot about failure in businesses. And I've learned a lot about how to take feedback and how to receive feedback. I've learned a lot about communication. And learning is the bedrock of any business. So those of you today that are here to try and win the prize, what I want you to think about is, what am I going to learn? Because then you're a winner, regardless if you win or not, because you're learning. And it's something that's been really close to my heart. Over 53 years of being on the earth and 37 years of working in business. I've traveled a lot as well with that. And the one thing I can honestly say is that communication through talking, through being around people, is probably the great learning of all. So I think everyone's got an opportunity to learn. I have in my hand an elastic ball. One elastic band on its own will not do this. When you put multiple elastic bands together, the ball bounces. So think about this opportunity that you've got over the next 54 hours to be a bouncing ball, to connect together, to bond together, to create something unique, to connect, to create something that's innovative, to create something that makes a difference. Not only am I a keynote speaker today, I'm also going to be a judge. And one of the things I'm going to be looking at is, one, does this idea help, support, and is it good? Does it give back? So that's one thing I'm going to have in my mind when I'm looking at, who has really brought it to the forefront, is, does this idea, opportunity create good? The second thing that I'll be looking at is, does this idea have an end user? So can I see this idea working in the marketplace? Can I see people taking advantage of this idea? And it's probably the starting point for a lot of entrepreneurs and for a lot of people that start businesses. It's actually, you fast forward to the end and then work backwards. So what you're trying to ascertain is this a benefit? Will people use it? So that's just something I'm going to put out there for you guys. The other thing I would say as well is, there's no wrong idea, there's only an idea. So the reality is, everyone's going to bring something to the table, and it's about listening. There's a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And that is, we should listen far more than we talk. So I think the listening opportunity within the groups, once they're formed, is going to be key. And also, it's okay to make a few mistakes along the way. It's okay to be annoyed during this process. It's okay to believe that your idea was amazing. But the reality is, we haven't chosen your idea. You're now in a team and you need to get behind everyone in that team with an idea to make it work. And there's always next year. So the comms bit, the communication bit is going to be absolutely critical in order that once you form these teams that you can really drive through this idea. So one of the things I wanted to talk about as well was creativity. I'm a strong believer that we have to really dig deep sometimes. And that sometimes means talking about things that are not popular. So within the groups, there'll be ideas that come up, creative ideas that might not be the most popular idea within the group, but actually the end user opportunity will be great. So creativity, I think, is going to be something really key when your teams are formed. Energy and vibe I've got down here. The energy in this place was electric earlier. It really was. When everyone started coming in and it started getting fuller, I could really feel the energy, I could really feel the vibe coming through from everybody. And I think that will just continue. But you will get tired. So pace yourself. Don't go out of the blocks too quick. Pace yourselves. You've got 54 hours, so pace yourself in that time frame. Now I want to talk about you, the individuals. For me, it's about believing in yourselves. I think the hardest thing sometimes is to believe in you, to believe in what you're thinking about, to believe in your idea. Your idea will come to the top if you really believe in it. If you really believe this idea will work, then you've got to fight for it. You've got to talk amongst yourselves, you've got to believe, you've got to fight for that idea. Because by believing in your idea and fighting for it, once you get into your group and you start working through that idea and you've got that belief, then you will rise. But you've got to really believe in it. And I think sometimes it's a hard thing for us humans to do, is to believe in ourselves. We doubt ourselves a lot. You know, imposter syndrome is a real thing. We start to think, is that right? We overthink the opportunity. So one of the things I want to say is believe in yourselves, believe in the opportunity that you've got, believe in the idea. There's been some great pictures up here just now, and actually I think it's not the easiest thing to do in 1 minute, to pitch something, to pitch an idea, to get people warmed up to that idea, but I thought you all did a splendid job. But what I would say is there were some pitches that you believed them. And you know what? You believed what they were saying. So the pitching part is about that belief. I've got to believe you. And some of you I believed, some of you I wasn't so sure. So I think the belief bit is really critical. You've got to believe in what you're talking about, but you've also got to get other people to believe in what you're saying. Along my journey with businesses, which has been many, and some have gone very, very well, and some have gone not so well. But I want to talk about one business that I was involved in from the beginning it was a skateboarding business. And those of you that understand the extreme sports market will know that skateboarding back in the 90s in the UK wasn't that popular. I had the task of forming a retail business that would transcend from the US into the UK market, where the UK market would tap into it, believe in it, and purchase the products. My issue with this business was, in the UK at that time, we didn't really have any role models, we didn't have anyone to look up to. Most of the pro skaters were in the US. So if I say Tony Hawk, most of you will probably know who he is. A great pro skater, Jeff Rowley. There was lots of them at that time, but they were all US driven, they weren't in the UK. Some of them were BMX riders as well, some of them were skateboarders. The extreme market just wasn't that big here, there wasn't, a lot of it. I formed a business that grew from 3.5 million to 25 million in 4 years. And how I did that was believing. I believed in the product. I believed in the idea, and my job was to get a market to believe in it. But it had to start with me. And I went around the country talking about it. I went around the country talking about the idea. I had lots of enthusiasts around me, really good skaters that could really do the skateboarding and do the tricks and all the rest of it. We created comics, we created books, we did a lot of work. The moral of the story is, skateboarding now is an Olympic sport. Skateboarding now is all over the world, and in the UK, it's still quite a big market. What was interesting for me, though, during that period of that particular business, was convincing people that there was a market, and convincing people that it was the right way to go, and convincing brands to jump on board. You know, brands like Vans, which you readily talk about now, and DC, S in America, those brands weren't big back then at all. There were teeny-weeny brands in the US. The UK market didn't really understand them. So our job was, how do you get those brands into the UK? But it started with the belief. It started with the belief, and it started with being able to get other people to believe in that, and that's how the market really started to grow. So the belief is absolutely critical, and the learning, because along that journey, we made some mistakes, but we kept on believing. And it was the belief that drove us through. So that's what I really want to get into your minds and hearts today, is the belief. The believing in yourselves, believing in that dream. My partner often says to me, dream big, Stephen, dream big. Because you can only win when you dream big, because you get something. If you dream small, then guess what? It's going to be small. The other thing I often say is, we are what we think we are. So we've got to really think positive and believe. Both these statements are correct. I'm going to have a bad evening is correct. I'm going to have a good evening is correct. If you think it, the reality is that's what's going to happen. So I want you all to really believe in yourselves. And even if it's not your idea that gets picked, you then have to believe and get behind the idea that's got picked within your groups and drive that through. I just want to finish by talking about what Sync means to me. And the S for me is about startup. So it's about the beginning of something really special. Startup. The Y for me is about you. You matter. You are important. You can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. The N is for network. It's a fantastic opportunity to network and get to know new people from different walks of life. Already, I've been in here for a few hours, and I've met some amazing people that I've never met before. I can honestly say I've lived in Norwich for 10 years now, and this is the first time in 10 years that I've been in a room where I only probably know about 5% of the people, and I love that. That's just fantastic for me. Because everywhere I go, I know most of the people. But tonight, that's not the case. So that's great for me. So network. And the C is about communication. Don't miss the opportunity to talk to the person to your right, to talk to the person to your left, and get to know new people. Because guess what? We stood up earlier and said we're all in the market to continue learning. We're all continuing to learn. So through communication, we can learn so much more. What I want to do now, actually, is just take any questions, because I know there's a lot of you out there might be feeling a bit nervous now about what's going to happen, or might be feeling a bit more doubtful. So if there's anyone that's brave enough to ask any questions out there.
Yeah, can you run through what is going to happen? Sure.
Oh, I'll do that bit. Yeah.
That's not my job. No, it's fine. John will run through what will happen after.
When you're networking, how do you approach someone you've never met before and introduce yourself or start a conversation?
That's a really, really good question, and actually one I get asked quite a lot. I often do this, so I keep it really, really simple, and I always say, obviously you know your name, and in the fewest words possible, just be able to describe what you do. It's a great way to open up a conversation. So my name is Stephen, I'm a business mentor and coach. You don't need to say any more than that, hello. I think sometimes what we do, we overcomplicate it. We think we have to say reams and reams of things, and the other person's like looking at you going, I only asked your name, I only said hello. So sometimes just keep it really simple for me. And you know, this is family, this is a community here. Everyone is here to support. So again, no one's going to not talk to you. So again, you know, as long as you're confident enough to say your name, that's a great start.
Other than believing in yourself, how do you avoid overthinking things, let an idea die in your mind?
I like that one. Someone once said to me, how many values do you have, Stephen? I was probably around 19 years old, and I said, I've got loads of them, and I reeled up a whole list of values. And the person said to me, you can only really have 2 values. If you have any more than 2 values, the reality is you'll never ever be able to achieve them. So you're setting yourself up for failure. So I think it's about having a focus of 1 or 2 things. I often use the magic number of 1 to 3. Having 1 or 2 things that you focus on and you keep that at the forefront of your mind, and it stops you from overthinking. Overthinking is caused by continuously going and what if and what if and what if and what if and what if. So rather you have 1 or 2 things that you focus on, and that way it stops you from overthinking.
Piggybacking off of that, how do you decide on the 1 to 3 things?
Okay. That depends on the individual. What I would say, one of the things I do is how much does it mean to me, and what outcome do I want? Okay? So if you think about the outcome that you want, what that then sometimes does is it restricts you to go, right, I'm going to prioritize on these 2 things. When I talk to most entrepreneurs or CEOs or managing directors or leaders in businesses, the issue that they have is they're trying to do too many things at once. And a human cannot do that many things. Maybe with AI, who knows? But hey, we can only do so many things. So the reality is, we need to decide what outcome do we want, and then we go, right, what are the 1 or 2 or 3 things that we can do to achieve that outcome?
Hi.
Hi.
What's something that you wish you know, please, if you want
I love that question. That's a great question. So to be really honest with you, the one thing I wish I knew when I was much, much younger is around being confident enough to ask the question. I think sometimes what happens is we're nervous, we don't want to get it wrong, we don't want to look silly, so we don't ask the question. And I wish I could have asked more questions when I was younger, just be brave enough to ask the questions, because I think I'd have learned a lot more. So I think questions are just so amazing, because the answers really allow you to start to shape things. So for me, I wish I'd have asked more questions. Even when I started, my early businesses, I wish I'd have asked more questions. And the second thing is, surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know. Sometimes what tends to happen is we surround ourselves with people that we can sort of manipulate, maneuver. And actually, that's not how you learn. You need to surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know, and then you'll learn far more. Someone said, yeah.
How do you hold yourself accountable to sticking to your values without being mean to yourself?
Really good question. I have a mentor. My first mentor was a gentleman by the name of Jack Shah. I met him when I was 20 days off my 16th birthday. I'm now 53 years old, and he's still in my life. I believe in mentoring, hence why my business is all about mentoring and coaching. I believe it's really great to have someone that you can be accountable to, that can help you. If I said to you, there's going to be 5 puddles that you're going to walk through, but I can guide you around those puddles, would you accept or not?
Probably would, yeah.
And that's what a mentor helps you do. It helps you guide, it helps you maneuver around those puddles, and helps you navigate signposts as you go through your career. So for me, I have mentors that help me do that.
Yeah, so you mentioned you going through the business and believing in yourself. You mentioned you had some mistakes during the process of building the business. Can you describe more about
What about mistakes? Yeah. Thank you. Bastard. So I had this amazing idea. It was called Faces. So basically, I came up with this idea that instead of recruiting from CVs, you would recruit by looking at someone's face. And I thought it was great. I thought it'd be absolutely brilliant. Why do we need CVs? We can do it, we can call it Faces, we can do it by, obviously it flopped, obviously. And at the time, I really believed in it. And what that did make me understand was actually that didn't work. But the idea was right. The idea was a good idea in terms of the principle of it. How can we recruit people less on words and more on personality? The bit I didn't get right was you need more than the face to be able to do that, yeah? Okay? You need something that we call soft skills now. But it flopped, it didn't work, but it gave me the opportunity to get something wrong, learn from that experience, and move on. Don't ask me about any more mistakes.
You have to do a 1 minute pitch now.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can't say anything too much because Saturday I'm going to be a judge. But there was one pitch that I heard and I was like, whoa, that is super cool. And I was actually thinking about it in my head, the same thing. I'm not going to disclose what it was, but it was one of those pitches that really hit a nerve with me. And it was something that I thought about. And actually, I'm thinking next year I'm so doing a pitch. Absolutely, next year I'm coming up with an idea.
Hypothetically speaking, if I build that and you use your clients for coaching, there was the interim between you giving them full coaching package and accountability for them on a daily basis rather than once a week, once every 2 weeks. Would you be better invested in?
Do you know what's quite interesting? You're too fucking late. Because I'm launching said app in January, so you're a bit behind the curve.
Do you think Norwich is doing enough for its statement?
No, actually, funny enough, just opposite this building is a church, and inside that church is a little skateboarding. And I remember back in the days, Norwich, this is straight up, Norwich was the pioneers in skateboarding. So Norwich was one of the big dogs. So we had like the top 10 cities in skateboarding, and Norwich was one of those cities. So it has fallen behind somewhat, but there's lots of reasons why that is. But I think, we could do a lot more, absolutely a lot more, yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Thanks everyone, thank you very much.
Perfect, awesome. So they've made the selection. I'm just going to rewind and answer that question. We used to do a lot more detail at the beginning about the process, but people got bored, so we simplified it. But yeah, so tonight is obviously identifying those 10 winning teams, those 10 pitches, and then the people that have the winning pitches will get a mentor assigned to them, and then we'll go through the recruitment process of forming your team. We'll talk more about that, but we have to get like 10 to 14 people per team and a good mix of skills. You can't steal all the developers or all the designers, etc. Then you'll meet your mentor, meet your team members, get to know each other, and start discussing, exploring the problem space, because it may evolve into, within the solution and problem space may change a little bit, tweaking it. Then really moving into tomorrow, it's all about validating the problem statement and the solution statement. Well, initially it's about validating the problem, so that is market research. So we do have people going out Friday morning, actually doing surveys, for their target market in the streets of Norwich, going to the train station, etc., doing online surveys, trying to reach out to experts, etc., and validating that problem, getting that feedback back, and then, tweaking it according to that feedback. While that's going on, you will also be, you kind of got two sides of the team. You've got the delivery side and the sales, marketing, research team. While that's going on, you'll also have an idea of what the product is. So you'll be thinking about the prototyping, what tools you can use, what technology, what the prototype will be. You'll also be filling out the business model canvas and the product vision canvas. There's a particular one